Okay, guys, so that was actually two hot laps around Spa. The first one, a couple little mistakes, pretty easy to make with the car, um, just trying to get the balance right. It's a lot of pedal work to keep the thing balanced through some of the corners. Even that lap definitely wasn't perfect, but really got a lot better run through the first part of the track, lost a little bit coming onto the back stretch, but then hit the final chicane much better on the second lap than I did on the first one. The first one I kind of clobbered the second curb on the inside, but anyways, that's enough of that. You can look at the sector times, yeah, faster in every single sector on the second lap there. Um, Puhan is pretty difficult in this car. That is the one corner where I really feel like it understeers. Um, and trying to get that out in the setup kind of made it want to oversteer everywhere else. So balance-wise, I'll take that. And also a 217.346. We're on the new Spa as well, which I believe I've read somewhere is actually slower than if you were to do it on the 2018 version, but obviously this car is only available if you're running on the new one. So I don't know. I don't know what any of that actually means, but a 217.346 is our time. Sub 41 for Sector 1. That is pretty decent from my testing. Sub 1 minute for Sector 2. Also very nice. Sector 3, only a 36.4. Losing out a little bit here. It was definitely the run onto the backstretch where we lost. That was a decent run through the final chicane, but yeah, the corner that leads onto the backstretch there, I got that one okay. It was a little bit of understeer. I turned in a little too late. But the one right before it, I didn't carry quite as much speed as I had the back kind of want to step out on me there, but nevertheless, only really probably lost about a tenth through all of that, so not too bad at all. Like I said, I'm gonna have both those laps for you guys to look at, so you can kind of see some of the differences. But yeah, we'll go into the setup. So I started off with the aggressive setup and actually really didn't need to change a lot for this at all. We've lowered the toe, front and rear. Um, Rear, the big limitation I found on this car from what I've experienced is the initially it was sliding mid-corner, and then now what I'm really struggling with, which you could probably see on that lap, was putting the power down under acceleration. It wants to engage the traction control a lot. I haven't really been able to figure that one out yet, so maybe we'll revisit this later and have some more time and really see if I can dial that out. But sliding mid-corner, there's a couple things we changed there, but toe, decreasing the toe should help you have more mid-corner grip. We also increased the rear camber just a little bit, and then tire pressures for the hot lap, but that was really about it. I think it's still standard front camber, front caster. Honestly feels really good. The front of the car feels very nice and pointy. Traction control on 1 and 2. I was trying it on 3 for some. I think it's what my wheel was set on. So, the rotary knobs kind of take over everything regardless of what I set it to. But yeah, 1 and 2 is what I've been doing my hot laps on. ECU map 1. Over to the mechanical grip side of things, suspension, brake bias, all that good stuff. Anti-roll bar down to 2, that is softer. Brake bias back to 62.2. Really didn't notice any instability or anything like that running it further back, and just kind of helps shorten up those braking zones and lets you trail the brake more into the corners. Softer wheel rate at the front. This is mid-engine, so my thought is that you're going to want it a little bit softer on the front, so it can put the weight to the front. You can actually use it, and then especially with the low fuel load. I don't know where the fuel tank is on the Audi, but if it's anything like the Porsche, having a softer up front is going to provide just better handling all around. And then 173 on the rear. Yeah, I think it's just one click. Yeah, one click softer than what it came on. Um, it just it felt too stiff. As well as the anti-roll bar, I believe it might have been on 4, but it might have been on 3. It didn't change much either way. Um, Nothing really big on the rear of the car balance-wise. It was just basically to try and get it to hook up a little bit better out of the corners, but also kind of maintain its sharpness through the corner, because this thing really does feel quite nice, especially through the high-speed corners, in my opinion. The big changes we made here were to the preload on the rear, much less preload. Again, that was to kind of try and help the mid-corner feel. Um, and then the bump stop ranges down 0 all the way around. I tried playing with it. These bump stop rates are probably different as well, because I tried keeping some of the range in it, but through Eau Rouge this thing was absolutely wild. Still can be if you do not hit the line just right, but yeah, taking the bump stop ranges all the way down to 0 and finally able to go through Eau Rouge somewhat reliably. Didn't mess with the dampers a whole lot. I think it's really just softer on the rear and a little bit more rebound and fast bump as well, I think, on the rear. I really don't remember, but I know I didn't tweak this a whole lot. The car feels relatively well balanced. I said it will still try and bite you, but it's a common characteristic of the mid-engine cars, is everything that this car tries to do. That's how it tries to kill you. So nothing really out of the ordinary. It's just you have to kind of know how to drive to the characteristics that the car gives you. Sure, could be better, could definitely also be a lot worse though. So yeah, there's those settings. If you tweak any of these, you may find something better, but didn't spend a ton of time on them, as I said. And then the ride heights really didn't do a lot here either. Didn't even take the brake ducts down. I did on the rear just because I think it was on 4 to start with, and that's just kind of ridiculous regardless of what you're doing. But just lowered the nose by 2 millimeters. I've tried it all the way down initially, and actually what I was worried about was bottoming out through Eau Rouge, but it wasn't an issue. It was a little bit more wild whenever it was all the way lowered, but it was still pretty manageable. But through, I believe it's Blanchimont, it had too much, the center of pressure is too far forward, and the back end would want to snap around on you in a heartbeat, which is not exactly ideal. So just raise it up, 58 millimeters, very nice balance, really running next to no rake on this car at all, kind of impressive. And 3-wing, so you have more that you could bolt onto it if you want, and even with 3-wing, we're still doing, I think it's 264 or 265 down the Kimmel Straight. So good top end, and really feels quite hooked up through the high-speed corners as well. So nothing to complain about there for me, in my opinion anyways. It seemed like a really rock-solid setup, and absolutely amazing car to drive, in my opinion. So